Got your present.
Oh, look at that. That's the shirt you were wearing the other day.
Yep.
That's great. Thanks, Larry. That's really sweet.
Oh, gee, look at that. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Well, just take it back. I'm sure they'll fix it for you. Sorry.
Can you take it back? I don't even know where the store is.
What's on Wilshire and 8? I understand you want me to take it back. I just gave you a gift.
You didn't give me a gift. You gave me a defective shirt. It's got a hole in it. That's not a gift. Come on.
I don't own this shirt anymore as I see it. I gave it to you. It's your responsibility.
It's not the point. The point is if you give somebody a gift, it's supposed to be a gift, not
right,
a
and if you give
problem.
somebody a gift, they're not supposed to be an ingrate. They're supposed to say thank you.
All right. How about I give you a gift and you have to pick it up in Seattle? That's a problem. It's not a gift.
It's not quite the same thing. I'm giving you a gift.
It is the same thing, Larry. I appreciate the gesture. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Kyle. Thanks for joining me and Andy for the Legendary Creature Podcast. So, if you're listening with your kids or your conservative grandma, maybe don't, because we swear.
Or you can check us out on YouTube, because hey, that's no place for conservative old women or children.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, I guess we should probably talk about your stuff. Huh?
I suppose.
So what have you been up to?
Dude, happy post-Thanksgiving.
Happy
dude.
post-Thanksgiving. I was gonna say like happy non-denominational holiday, but it's kind of just like a
Thanksgiving is
American
non-denominational. Thing. It's just American.
Yeah. Well, there's other Thanksgivings around the world.
I guess there's Canadian Thanksgiving a few weeks earlier, isn't it?
Yeah.
Early November.
Yeah. So what have you come up with? You said that you had a group hug deck, and now I'm going, oh God.
You're like, why, Kyle? Why?
Oh God.
Well, you know, Andy, 'tis the season to be in a giving mood, right?
Yeah.
Holidays coming around. We're all thankful from Thanksgiving. Belly's full. Christmas and Festivus coming up.
Festivus. Can I try to guess the commander?
Yeah, please.
Is it Zedru?
No.
Is it Kayano Centurio?
No.
Is it the hippogriff with the Feldegrift?
It's not.
Fuck. Is it Perforos?
Is it Perforos? The gift that keeps on giving.
I mean, it's, you know, yeah.
I'm giving you guys damage. Don't you appreciate what I'm doing here?
Well, who is it?
Well, let's hold you in suspense for a minute longer here because I want to discuss some principles about deck building when it comes to group hug decks.
All right.
There's actually a decent primer on Reddit that I came across, and I'll post a link in our show notes about it, or to that talks about some principles about group hug, because I think group hug it's this idea that gets out of control very easily.
Like its definitions are out of control?
Yeah, I think its definitions get out of control. I think the way people build and understand them and deceive themselves with how they're building them can get out of control. But to me, one of the important principles, I think, is understanding the difference between group hug, pressure, and stacks.
You think I mean, you're saying these are related or closely related, these three things?
Well, so I think we've had the experience in our play group where one guy in particular likes to say that he's got a group hug deck.
Yeah.
And it's usually a pressure deck.
Are we talking about Jeff?
Yes.
I think he just says that to be funny.
I mean, I think he does too.
Do you think he actually believes that it's a group hug deck?
I think he does too, but...
It's a group hug deck. It's like, dude, no one believes you. You
definitely not. I think he does just say that to be that way. But the reason I kind of point that out is I think when you're using red and you're kind of doing these effects that impact everybody...
Yeah.
It's really easy to start going, well, you know what? Let's just toss some mana barbs in there too, you know? Merry Christmas, everyone.
Huh.
And so I think there's kind of there's that going on, and then stacks where is sort of the opposite of what group hug is, where you're denying resources. And so, like there's a difference between Temple Bell and Kervek and Tangle Wire.
Okay.
There's a big difference.
I'm surprised at this news.
I just feel like when you're building group hugs, sometimes you have to keep that in mind. Another principle that I think kind of is important to kind of guide ourselves with building a group hug deck is, you got to be ready to sell your snake oil, dude.
So what do you mean? Like,
so we have somebody that plays Kai and Tai in our group, right?
Yeah.
And Andy, almost every time that deck is brought to the table, it's an illusion, guys. He's deceiving us.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think it's a scam, his deck.
That's the word you use all the time. Guys, it's a scam. It's a scam. Don't believe him.
Okay.
And it is. But you kind of gotta joke with people about the gifts you're giving, keep them on your side. But this is where I think and I'll flesh these out more fully as we get into this episode, but I just kind of want to like preface the whole idea of a few principles here. The other one is I think it's important to build leverage into your group hug deck, because I think that a lot of people kind of have the notion that, I'm going to give everybody things and they're just going to love me and keep me at the table because I'm giving stuff to everyone.
Yeah, only until you're, the last one and it's time for you to go away.
Well, yeah, and in particular when it comes to card draw, there comes a point where people have enough options in hand. They don't need your card draw anymore.
Huh.
And so I believe that it's important to have things that give you leverage. Something like Cami of the False Hope, so you can stop combat coming your way.
Yeah, fog effects.
Or something like maybe Duelist Heritage, where you can encourage people to send their combat in another direction.
Sure.
Control, of course, would help do this as well. Another thing is I think that we want to have subtle disparity in our creating a little more extra advantage for ourselves. And then finally, playing to win. So let's get to choosing a commander.
I think to me, that's like the thing that I've always wondered about doing a group hug deck, right? Because I'll admit, like, I've never done it.
Right.
I always think, how do you win without just getting lucky or something like that?
Sure.
I mean, that's a lot of games, but you know what I mean? Like,
but you're usually, if I get what you're saying, because I think a lot of times when people are building group hug, you're focused on just giving things to people.
Yeah.
That you kind of forget to include a few core win conditions into your deck, and
yeah,
it's
like,
just
here's a bunch of hippos. Here's some life.
Like
here's
you just
some
happen
card
to
draw,
right?
God forbid, or here's some lands.
Yeah, and so usually what you're kind of thinking of is somebody just stumbles into winning because everybody's life totals came down and they happen to be able to do combat damage for a win or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important to do a few things that help you manage life totals, and also like intentionally build win conditions into your deck. Maybe not as heavily populated as other decks might be, but definitely have win conditions built in.
Okay.
So you're kind of trying to guess the commander that I've chosen.
It's got to have like at least green in it.
Definitely has green in it.
Okay.
So here I kind of feel like there's a few questions that you can pose to yourself if you're going about the process of trying to build a group hug deck, and trying to select a commander for that.
Okay.
First one I think is kind of, do you want the commander to contribute to your group hug? And so examples of this would be, like you mentioned, Kainos and Tiro of Melitus.
Mm-hmm. Allows people to draw or play an extra land at the end.
Exactly. So at the beginning of your end step, you draw a card, and then each player may put a land card from his or her hand onto the battlefield, and then each opponent who didn't draws a card. So you're able to kind of get both while everybody's getting one or the other.
Yeah.
And so that one's contributing to that. Selvala Explorer Returned is another one that kind of helps lend to just group hug as a commander. So this one has Parlay, where we tap, each player reveals the top card of his or her library. For each non-land card revealed this way, add green to your mana pool and you gain 1 life. Then each player draws a card. So again, the commander.
So you kind of flush up with mana and
Exactly.
gain life and draw a card where they just draw a card.
And notice with both of these, they're creating that subtle disparity and advantage that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Like you're giving something to everybody, but you're getting a little more. So both of those participate in it. And if you wanted to, you could make Zedrew be another one where you can do that, where you're giving away nice things with Zedrew, and then you're getting the card draw out of that kind of stuff.
I think the stuff that Zedrew typically wants to give away is stuff that doesn't matter first.
Right.
So things like Howling Mine, doesn't really matter who controls Howling Mine.
Exactly.
And then, yeah, a lot of Zedrew decks seem to fall into giving away stuff that people really don't want to be in control of, like aggressive mining.
Yeah. Yeah. Then there's some things with Zedrew that I'm kind of like, I feel a little torn about doing the strategy with Zedrew where it's, because I think Zedrew invites that, right? Like I'm starting to move myself from group hug to pressure. And where is the boundary with that?
Okay.
You know, because it's appropriate to do that, but where do you draw the line with it?
Huh.
Another question I think is maybe your commander, you don't necessarily need your commander to contribute to group hug because there's plenty of cards in Magic the Gathering that allow you to build that
Without your commander.
without the commander
Well,
having
then
to
what
be a part of it.
then what commander would you want?
Well, so then I
would
think
be a
another
good
type you could look into is do I want a commander that helps create leverage for me? And so this is just kind of me like theorizing a little bit, but I actually think like Derevi might actually be one that helps you create leverage that you could build a group hug deck around.
Okay.
I think it would be interesting to do that. Obviously, Derevi has a reputation doing stacks type things and keeping people from playing, but you could kind of just go this opposite direction of giving people benefits, but you can use your commander to keep people from going into combat on you and utilizing things that maybe will let them get ahead of you. I think Rubinia is another one where you can kind of like threaten to steal things from people.
If they're not going to play your game.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I think Queen Marquisa fits this, right? I mean, she brings the monarchy into play, but she's death touch. So
yeah, so she's kind of
gives you the assassins that are death touch. If you don't have the monarchy.
She creates a little bit of leverage for you. Exactly, where you're deterring people from coming towards you, but she actually does contribute something potentially to the group hug.
She doesn't have green though.
She does not have green, so that's kind of a little bit of a barrier because green is a really helpful color in trying to do this.
Huh.
Another one, I think Brad's kind of tried this a little bit, and I'm not entirely sold on whether it works or not.
Gahiji.
Is Gahiji?
Yeah.
It's a possibility thing. I think I think it's just how our group responds that Gahiji doesn't really work as a group hug type deck because what he's ended up doing is he creates tokens for people and he wants everybody to send tokens elsewhere to get that boost from Gahiji
+2, yeah.
And invariably a lot of people just ignore the tokens that he gives to them
Or just skull clamp them.
yeah, exactly. So I think that one's kind of based off of what your play group might be open to.
Yeah.
That may or may not work.
What is EDH Rec like advise for like group hug? Like, can you search a group hug?
Yeah,
theme
so you
for
actually
EDH
can.
Rec?
So EDH Rec does have a group hug kind of a list, and then I'll get to, I think, my last segment of ideas that we might want to consider for group hug commanders. But what they have, of course, probably the avatar of group hug is the Feldegriff.
Yeah, the avatar of group hug.
Like,
yeah.
and then Kai is number 2. Then we have Corona, the false god.
Huh. Yeah.
Which is an interesting one to me. So if you're not familiar with that, it says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player untaps Corona, false god, and gains control of it. Whenever Corona attacks, creatures of the type of your choice get +3/+3 until end of turn.
Gotta move out of the way,
It's
Gahiji.
very aggressive.
But it doesn't say it can't attack its owner, which
right. So you kind of need to be prepared with all the vows.
you're just kind of
in that deck.
yeah, you're betting that like people won't swing at you because they hope to get Corona again.
The Maelstrom Wanderer is number 4 on the list.
Huh.
Selvala checks in at number 5. And
Whoa, the Maelstrom Wanderer is ahead of.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Probably just because he's probably on your side of. I just want to get to the cards faster that help my group hug, which he allows you to do that with his double cascading.
I think there's two things that the Maelstrom Wanderer can potentially provide, and this is, I'll address this in a second. Then we get into like Crewfix, Riku, Jehoira of the Gitu, Child of Alara, and then Zedru kind of round out the top 10.
Zedru's pretty far down there.
Zedru is pretty far down on.
I wonder why I think when I think group hug, I think of Zedru. Maybe I'm just old school or something.
I don't know. I think it's a very valid strategy to build around Zedru. But
maybe not.
I don't
Maybe
know.
Not.
Maybe because the green's not there, people aren't into it. I
Yeah,
don't know.
right.
I don't know. So one last question that I think when you're trying to pick out a commander,
Okay.
and it's, do I want my commander to be a part of my win condition?
Yeah.
And I think this is where something like the Maelstrom Wanderer can come in.
Okay.
Because again, that has creatures you control have haste and then cascade. So we're just dumping stuff out basically, and that's going to dump out group hug cards and potentially dump out a win condition if we're building in a combo.
Okay.
What I ended up doing is I decided to go with partners because I'm a sucker for them. And I went into this kind of rut of picking a commander that can be part of a win condition.
Oh my God, did you pick Ludwig?
So I actually picked Kaidel, chosen of Crewfix, and Ravos Soultender.
Okay, so even with the group hug deck, Ludwig is still less than desirable.
Now, just kind of by itself, this kind of addresses a principle of trying to subtly like give myself a little extra oomph.
Sure.
Because Kaidel, of course, taps and I get 1 colorless mana for each card I've drawn in that turn.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So I'm getting a little extra benefit beyond what everybody else is getting. Is kind of the idea here.
From what, like all the Howling Mines and things?
Yeah. So the deck that I've put together here is that we're gonna draw lots of cards. Everybody, let's draw lots of cards.
Hey man, if you have a loosey goosey strategy, throwing a fuck ton of card draw at it usually kind of
It usually does the trick, right?
A little bit. Puts a little bit of that octane in there.
So I don't know. I guess I've kind of been getting into this lately of applying some kind of theme. So I'm going to carry the holiday theme through the discussion of this deck.
Man, what's up with you and themes lately?
I don't know. I've gotten into it.
We did like
dude.
Queen last time you did a deck.
Exactly.
With your Under Pressure. And now we're doing It's the Holidays.
It's the holidays, dude. So this is the segment of the deck that I call Putting Presents Under the Tree.
Oh my God. Okay.
I feel like some guy at some rundown bar playing for like 5 people. This one is called Putting Presents Under the Tree.
I feel like you're just some guy at some like company offsite meeting where it's like he's got the PowerPoint presentation and he's trying to make everybody more engaged by punning the shit out of his
right. You're engaged now. Look at my boring ass slides. Okay, so Putting Presents Under the Tree, dude.
Okay.
We got to do this. Horn of Greed. So 3 mana for an artifact. Whenever a player plays a land, that player draws a card.
Oh, what a card.
Dope, dude. Because people are going to be ramping. They're going to be playing lands. Let's get card draw for it.
Okay.
Howling Mine, of course, as you mentioned. So 2 mana for another artifact at the beginning of each player's draw step. If Howling Mine is untapped, that player draws an additional card.
Okay.
And of course, I don't know. There's ways in artifact decks you can kind of tap it down, but
improvise, man. I'm looking for ways to tap that all the time.
But I'm not looking to tap it. I'm just everybody putting presents under the tree, dude. There's a Howling Mine under your tree, Andy.
A Howling Mine under the tree.
Let's see. I put in fuck, why can't I find it? Otherworld Atlas. I don't know. This one's slow as fuck, but let's do it, dude. So it's 4 mana for another artifact. It has tap, put a charge counter on Otherworld Atlas. And it also has tap. Each player draws a card for each charge counter on Otherworld Atlas. I'm kind of looking with this deck. It's kind of maybe a little subtle, but to try and build that up a little bit so that it benefits Kaidel.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Guys, don't attack me. I just need a couple more
guys,
charges.
I'm just
on
going to
this
get
atlas.
a few more charge
I swear
counters
to
on
God, I'm
Otherworld
going to give you the cards in a minute, okay? I swear to God.
Don't destroy. No, don't.
Swear to God,
Don't
there's
cast
a
that
howling
Bane of
mine.
Progress. I'll hook you up.
Yep, that will totally keep the Bane of Progress in somebody's hand.
Temple Bell, just 3 mana for an artifact. Tap. Each player draws a card. You know, and ones like this are a little bit nicer with the commander choice because we're activating them when we want to, and can kind of make it work with Kydel as well. Then we'll kind of move to a few instants and sorceries. Flux. So 2 and a blue. Each player chooses and discards any number of cards, then draws that many cards. Also draw a card. I
Okay.
would kind of like, because everybody gets to filter their hand, right?
Huh.
Prosperity.
That one's just everybody draws, isn't it?
Yeah, so X and a blue. Each player draws X cards. This is one that I kind of like when I was kind of goldfishing it out a little bit. This one came up in my hand quite a few times, and I used it in both ways. So it's sky scribing. So X and 2 blue. Each player draws X cards, very similar to Prosperity. But it also has forecast where you can pay
Forecast, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you can pay 2 and a blue, and you would reveal sky scribing from your hand, and each player draws a card.
Okay.
So you just keep forecasting this thing. Hey, guys.
Rather than you just, yeah, okay.
Like,
Weird.
instead of casting it. And so what's nice about that is it's a nice mana sink. So if you're holding mana up and it kind of comes around to you, so it does say you have to activate this ability only during your upkeep, only once each turn. So sorry, that doesn't work that way. My bad.
Yeah, I mean, you pay 3 at
But
your
still,
upkeep just to have everyone
pay 3 at
draw
your
it.
upkeep. You're yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So the Heartwood Storyteller, this is when we start really revving it up, dude.
Yeah.
1 and 2 green. Whenever a player plays a non-creature spell, each of that player's opponents may draw a card.
Huh, thanks, I hate it.
I put this one in a couple decks, and it fucking gets going, dude.
Yeah, I usually don't benefit a lot from this one.
That's actually true, huh? Because you're the one that's casting the most
Non-creature
spells.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I can see being frustrated with that. Kami of the Crescent Moon, or Kami. How do you? I don't know. Those Japanese inspired
Yeah, it's Kami.
Kami. Okay, so Kami of the Crescent Moon. It's just 2 blue. The beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card.
Huh.
So we're just setting up extra card draw, and then in the same ilk would be Dictative Crew Fix.
This guy needs to get some pants on.
Yeah, right. Just sitting there as this big
No, he doesn't.
blue ass.
Never mind, I take it back.
So 1 and 2 blue for Dictative Crew Fix. It has flash, so you can kind of flash it in to benefit yourself first. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Same thing. Functionally, this is one that I actually really liked when I was kind of noodling this deck out a little bit and testing it out. Rites of Flourishing, 2 and a green. Kind of has a Riku-esque feel, the art does on this one.
Uh-huh.
So at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Each player may play an additional land
It's
on
just like the
each of his
fucking
or her
group
turns.
hug to end all group hug.
Yeah,
on
it
that one.
really is.
Crazy.
Really is. Like, play extra lands and draw extra cards. We're good to go.
Man, I hope you plan on reminding everybody. Like,
Oh, there's gonna be lots
continually,
of,
hey
like-
guys, don't you like my rights of flourishing? Hey, you know,
No, this is part of the process of selling your snake oil.
you
dude.
definitely have to.
You
Yeah.
got to sell the snake oil. Don't kill me. You're drawing 3 cards at your upkeep. One of my favorite cards, Andy.
What?
I just can't let it go.
What is it?
Well of Ideas, dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you will like this card a lot.
Any
I
chance-
remember having an argument about that card when it first came out.
Yeah, when it first came out, there was definitely an argument at our table about whether it was worth it to play it or not. I believe it is.
And I'm still gonna play it. God damn it.
So 5 and a blue for an enchantment. So when it enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. So we get that nice little extra benefit there. At the beginning of each other player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. At the beginning of your draw step, draw 2 additional cards.
So it's just good for you no matter what.
Yeah, it's good for you. You're going to get 2 cards for casting it, and then, I don't know.
It still has that snake oil on it too.
It does.
Okay.
It does, for sure. So that's a piece of it. I have some more cards that kind of go along with some of that gift giving, but they're multifunctional.
But we kind of get the idea. The gifts are card draw.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it benefits you.
It's going to benefit me specifically with Kydell.
Yeah.
Now I kind of want to move into this idea of trying to create a little bit of leverage in our game plan, because I think it's really easy because you can get carried away with those kinds of cards that I just listed off. You can fill your deck with that kind of stuff. I'm focused on card draw, but you could focus on giving people tokens. You could focus on ramping everybody the fuck out. There's a lot of different things you could do, and you can just fill your deck with it. And you kind of forget that, like I say, people will kill you when it's convenient to kill you.
Yes.
So,
or a lot of the time they'll set something up that just kills everybody all at once. It's not right. It's not.
And so I think and I think that's an important point you're making. Like, if you're playing against combo players, you're helping them get to their combos faster.
Yeah.
Like, definitely helping them get to their combos faster. And so this segment of what I'm building here, I can't stress enough. I think it's important that you have a segment of your deck with a group hug deck that's built like this, using some of these principles. And so I've called this finding joy in giving and taking.
Okay.
So we want to create leverage. And this can be manifest in a variety of ways. We have our politics episode where Andy, I think, explains this very well, but I kind of want to draw from some of those principles. And I actually borrowed a little bit from your Queen Marquisa list to kind of not necessarily leverage, but make sure that it's understood that you can't just come at me without being punished.
Okay.
So Comeuppance is in the list, is one that I put in here. So it's 3 and a white, basically preventing combat damage if somebody is coming at you.
It reflects the damage back to creature-based sources and back to controllers if it's a non-creature source.
Yeah. So it's text heavy, that card. Let's see, another one that you had put in your list, I believe, is Batwing Broom.
Yeah.
So this is one in a hybrid of either white or black. And it's an instant that says prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn if white was spent to cast Batwing Broom. Each player loses 1 life for each attacking creature he or she controls if black was spent to cast Batwing Broom. And you can pay both of those.
Both of those effects will happen.
Yeah. So those types of things where, if somebody's got to go wide strategy with a bunch of tokens.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to punish the fuck out of you for coming at me with the Batwing Broom. Selfless Squire is another one that I put in here. And this is one that you can kind of turn around for yourself and be the benefactor. So 3 and a white, flash. Whenever Selfless Squire enters the battlefield, prevent all damage that will be dealt to you this turn. And whenever damage that would be dealt is prevented, you may put that many +1/+1 counters on Selfless Squire.
It's a really good card.
It is a really good card.
Especially when you continue to prevent damage after they're out, she just keeps getting more yoked.
So you put that to use in a couple decks. I think you have that in 8.5 Tails as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're referring to, is continually preventing damage.
Yeah, so if you have something like Righteous Aura.
Oh, yeah.
It just makes her bigger.
Okay. Now, I should mention that this list I'm putting together, I noodled it out on Card Kingdom. If you go with the low cost on these cards, you can get this deck for about $75.
Huh.
So I did hold out some bigger deal cards that you could use, but if you've got a budget league that you want to bring it to the table, this deck you could probably put in that range.
And Card Kingdom's the more expensive engine for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I mentioned this one earlier, but the Kami of False Hope. So sacrifice Kami of False Hope, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Remember, the other partner I put in here was Ravos,
so it can come back,
and so you can keep this coming back. I mean,
Spore Frog's in here too.
I didn't actually put it in my list, but yes,
you could do it.
you could definitely do it.
Okay.
Another one that I put in here, because I kind of want to have a multi-tool for making sure I don't want to have my deck built in a way that it prevents people from playing, but I want to have answers if I need them. So I put in the Hushwing Griff. So 2 and a white flying creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger.
This is a hate bear, my friend.
It is a hate bear, and this is
group hug.
This is why I'm saying like there needs to be you kind of have to be aware of the boundary, because I actually started building this a little too much on the hate bear side.
Okay.
When I started putting the list together, and I was like, you know what? I have snake oil to sell. I got to make sure that people
back it off.
That people get the impression that they're actually going to benefit from it. And so, yeah, like I said, if there's somebody that's really benefiting, like there's a Karater player at the table or something like that, something like a Hushwing Griff.
Are you taking the Hushwing Griff over the Torp Orb so you can use it to respond if you need to?
Well, here's the other thing is that if somebody gets rid of it, is I've got Ravos that allows me to bring it back.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so that's kind of why I did that.
I see.
Of course, counter spells, an instant speed spot removal. I'm not going to go over all of my selections for those things, but that allows you to, if not leverage.
Well, it's just part of keeping things in check a little bit.
Yeah, it keeps things in front of you.
Yeah, if they're going to put out a Staff of Domination, probably needs removed.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
countered. If they're going to do, they have Basalt Monolith out, and now you see that Rings of Brighthearth on the stack. Probably time to take action.
And that's exactly it. And I do have kind of a little bit, like I don't plan on using these things that much, but I need to have them in hand is kind of the idea. And so I have a maybe a little bit higher than usual concentration of these types of cards in my deck because I'm helping combo players get there. Like I have to stop them from comboing off for their win.
You helped me this entire game, and now I was about to get off, and you
stopped me.
You stopped me from shooting my wad, my dude. This is not a group hug deck at all. I would describe it as a blue balls deck. That's what I would describe it as.
That's maybe what we should call it.
Blue balls.
Kyle's blue balls for Christmas.
Under the tree. Sorry, keep going.
I think it's appropriate when we're trying to leverage or create things kind of around that or give ourselves. Maybe leverage is the wrong word here. Maybe what I'm more trying to say is make your group hug deck so that you don't have a big gaping asshole.
I want to say what you've been describing is reactive.
Yes.
A lot of these things no one would know to stay away from. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if you have the Selfless Squire in hand when I attack.
Exactly. It's not so much leverage as much as like
leverage to me is like Seal the Primordium.
Right. Like I mean like a Kami of False Hope is kind of a leverage type card.
That works.
Of course.
That
but
works.
These are some other ones that are more of deterrence than maybe leverage. Although Guafa is kind of just the law is written. So Guafa Hazid Profiteer, 1 and Azorius, so white, blue, and he has the activated ability of you can pay white, blue, and tap, put a bribery counter on target creature you don't control. Its controller draws a card. And creatures with bribery counters on them can't attack or block. So
you kind of make them functionally useless for combat.
Yeah, exactly. Like pick out the things that you're most scared of coming your way.
Yeah.
And throw them a bone and give them a card in the process.
Here's your consolation card. By the way, your giant Phyrexian death machine that does 12 infect can't come my way or anybody's way or block for you.
Fuck off.
Okay.
A couple other Pillow Fort things like Windborn Muse, Ghostly Prison. I put Baird in here because I'm budgeting and not doing propaganda.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So.
Plus, you can recur him with Ravos.
Exactly.
Sick, my dude.
Exactly. And the Windborn Muse, same story. So, yeah, that's kind of, I think, like I said, I don't know, to recapture that package may seem like it's not in the spirit of group hug.
I think it is. It's people are less, they're not enticed to attack you. It actually costs them to attack you with these cards.
Right. Like you need to create some kind of sense of, like I said, like you don't want to just invite people over to come take you down.
Right.
Like,
sure.
You need to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you're buying gifts. You're not spending your whole paycheck.
Exactly.
You're not going to bankrupt yourself.
So this is where we need to get fat on holiday cookies, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, I mean, like I've described earlier, there should be some things that you do that create either some sort of disparity in advantage.
Okay.
Or I think this is also important, and again, kind of delineating this a little bit, doing something on your part that you do to bring the life totals down as well.
Sure.
I wouldn't play these things early because then people, the gig's up. Like nobody's going to buy your snake oil. They know what you're doing. You don't want to end up with a Nekuser deck, basically.
Yeah, that's a group slug deck.
Yeah, exactly. That's not what we're going for. But these types of cards, I think, should have a presence in some way, shape, or form. And so specifically, I've put in Price of Knowledge into my deck.
All right.
So let's build up those hand sizes.
Weirdly, I was talking to Chris about this idea, like, just I think Friday. He wanted to make a deck that, because he's kind of new to the format or whatever, but he wanted a deck that punished people for having a lot of cards in hand. I guess he was flipping through his collection and he says that he had a black vice.
Okay.
And that was one of the cards. And so he's like, so I'm either between Nekuser or Nin the Pain Artist. And you know how I am. Like I try to steer people away from
like
some things, like not, like I don't want them to waste money and go up against mine and your stuff and just lose, or go up against the rest of our playgroup stuff and just get discouraged. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, and I think something else you're careful with is if there's going to be a kind of experience for them as the pilot that's not necessarily going to be enjoyable.
Yeah. So just kind of observing him, I don't think Nekuser was going to be fun for him because we're all conditioned to deal with Nekuser.
Yeah,
we all know what to do. It's everybody. It's a well explored path.
Oh yeah,
well explored line to play. But then he was talking about Nin the Pain Artist, and I'm like, the problem is that without black, I don't know if Nin can shove enough cards into people's hands to really find a way where you're like, oh man, this is really killing me. I don't even want to resolve creatures because, and yeah, her activation's really mana intensive. So anyway, keep going. I'm gonna have to get ideas from this.
So my point here being is that I wanted to include a couple cards in here that, even if they just have one time around the table, they're really gonna hurt. And so Price of Knowledge is definitely one of them. 6 and a black for an enchantment. And it says players have no maximum hand size. So all this extra card draw that you're giving to people, they've got to have something really special going on if they're getting their hands emptied.
Sure.
So at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Price of Knowledge deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in that player's hand.
Okay.
And so like I said, even if this just survives one time around the table, we're probably going to be getting at least 6, maybe even more, hopefully more damage on each player, aside from ourselves.
Yeah, like even if they just have 5, like it's 15 damage right there.
That's a lot of help from a card like that.
Okay.
I also put in Psychosis Crawler because a lot of the stuff that we have in this deck. So Psychosis Crawler has a problem.
Yes.
I guess if for me to back up first and to read it off, it's 5 mana for an artifact creature, and its power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. But the big thing that is disconcerting to everybody is whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. You have to kind of sequence this in a bizarre way, but you can kind of position yourself to where you can get the Psychosis Crawler in place and have a big draw in the same turn.
Right.
Allowing yourself to, again, maybe do 15 damage to the table. Because Psychosis Crawler, in my experience, doesn't typically survive around the table. But if played at the right time, could certainly do the trick.
Okay.
Notion Thief.
No, God. So this is turning around pretty quick.
This is where I've been giving gifts to everybody, and now
you're definitely
I'm
giving
bad
them back
Santa.
to you.
I'm coming and I'm eating everybody's cookies.
Yeah,
dude. I'm
okay.
eating everybody's cookies now. So now we've set up to where they're upkeeping and they're drawing 3 cards that they're upkeep. Notion Thief comes in, flash it in. If an opponent would draw a card except for the first one he or she draws in each of his or her draw steps, instead that player skips that draw and you draw a card. So again,
I'm beginning to see 2 fatal flaws in the name of this theme.
Are you?
Yeah. The word hug and the word group.
So here's a couple more. So another one that I think is kind of, I mean, this is just going to push this one over the edge a little bit, but may or may not be, group hug in nature.
Yeah.
Is Whispering Madness. So 2 a blue and a black. So each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. Because of the group hug package we've put into this deck, somebody's going to have a very full grip. And then it, of course, has Cipher. So with an attacking creature, we can trigger this again. With Tachyova, that one gets off. You're going to get a lot of, with Kydel. But speaking of Tachyova's in the deck. And this kind of gets me onto something a little bit, onto this idea of trying to make sure that I'm getting a little extra out of everything that's going on here. The hug is a little bit tighter for me. I'm getting off just a little bit more from all that physical touch.
Sure.
Tachyova, Benthic Druid, 3, a green and a blue. So whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. I've got a little extra ramp in the deck. Toothy is in the deck as well. So Toothy, Imaginary Friend, 3 and a blue. It partners, but I don't have its partner in here because fuck Peer, dude. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Toothy, Imaginary Friend.
Okay.
And then when Toothy leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. So big creature. People are not incentivized to kill it, but they kind of are.
Yeah, of course.
But you're going to get benefit from it. So cool. Thanks. And the thing I like about that one is it's when it leaves the battlefield.
Yeah. It doesn't in any way.
I'm getting the benefit.
Yeah. Because what is it? The other one that makes the squids, the
Chasm Skulker.
I think it has to die.
Yeah. I had that on the list initially.
Well, they did that for Commander, like if they do a die trigger on a Commander, like Elendra or whatever that lady's.
Oh, yeah.
Can't remember her name, but it's
kind
of rough.
The Dusk Rose.
Yeah, kind of rough.
Yeah, it is kind of rough in that regard. So Kamena's Awakening is kind of straddling these 2 worlds. So Kamena's Awakening is 2 and 2 blue for an enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. Each player draws a card. Cool, we're hugging. If you have the city's blessing instead, only you draw a card.
You Grinch.
So kind of selling everybody that snake oil to begin with, and then all of a sudden we get to my upkeep and everybody's expecting to draw a card.
It just becomes a no downside Phyrexian arena.
No more from me, only. And then lastly, Sylvala. I've kind of talked about Sylvala a little bit. But
with Kydel, it can get you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you only draw 1.
Yeah, right? You're drawing 1, so you get the card draw, but you're getting some mana from it as potentially
sideboard. Yeah, okay.
As well. So just kind of feeds by itself as well. So if you kind of if you can see what I've done here, the deck is sort of, it's not entirely group hug. There's a lot of group hug stuff in it. But in order for me to actually be in a position to win, I want to be the person that benefits most from what's going on.
Okay.
And I want to be able to control what other people do.
Sure.
If necessary. And so it maybe doesn't fit into what everybody would conceptualize as a group hug deck. But I believe this is the way a group hug deck should be built in part. Now, I guess let me bring it home to...
So one that's just not aimlessly giving away stuff.
Yes.
Like you're going to have to start relying on the same advantage you're giving your opponents.
Exactly.
Or punishing them for the advantage you're giving them.
Exactly.
Like That's the switcheroo.
Exactly.
Okay.
There needs to be a punishment for it, or there needs to be just a little more benefit for me to get me to a win condition.
Okay.
Now this can be very simple. I don't, like I say, I think with some decks, like you have a commander and you just like, if you're normally building around Kydel, like combo city awaits you, right? There's just all kinds of stuff you could do with Kydel.
Yeah.
So this deck is very lean in terms of trying to do something with her to just straight out win, but it's there. You can also just do something very simple, like Approach of the Second Sun. If you've got white in your group hug deck, great win con.
Yeah, because it's just you're benefiting from all the auto draw engines you've created.
Exactly.
You get to the second cast quicker.
We've had Kai and Tai beat us with Approach of the Second Sun multiple times. And we just, I don't know, just don't get it. I don't know.
I think you cast it when everything was really you cast Approach of the Second Sun where everything's very contestable.
Yeah.
You don't do it where you do it when there's just so many threats, you forcing people to choose.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Usually it will be you, but
sure,
because your condition is that you win. But
yeah, like you just
at least
win.
There's some discord that comes with it.
Yeah.
Every time he's cast it, it's like, but what about all these other problems that are out here right now? Like this is really not something that we can have right now.
He plays it really well.
Yeah.
He plays it really well. And so it might be. It's such a cheap card, which kind of says to me that there's not a lot of people that use it, but you can pull it off.
It's a lot of mana. Yeah.
You can pull it off. The other thing that I've built into this deck, and like I said, if you're building group hug, like find your own way to a win con, but I think it's important to build a win con. I chose a commander that I can build a win con around.
Huh.
So a couple of these pieces are maybe borderline in terms of budget, specifically the Umbral Mantle. It's not super expensive. It's about $7. May or may not fit into your budget constraints. But the Umbral Mantle is 3 mana for an artifact equipment. And it says equipped creature you can pay 3 and untap this creature. It gets +2/+2 until end of turn.
So once you're up to 4 draws
so once you've got 4 draw in a turn, you can now have infinite colorless mana.
So 3 on top of your original draw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a brainstorm.
Yeah, I mean, there's you could just simply do things like that, which, toss those spells out there and just
sure. I'm just trying to say the bar is not as high as it seems.
Oh no, it's really not,
Yeah.
because you might think based off of what I've said, like I've got all these enchants and permanents that are trying to allow me to upkeep, but you can just cast an instant or sorcery that draws you cards, and it does the trick. So the Umbral Mantle puts us in a position where we can generate infinite colorless mana with Kydel. The other one that is it's more of a budget pick that you could use. The reason Umbral Mantle is a little more expensive is its equip cost is 0. So you just cast it, get it out there and go.
Yeah. It's kind of nutty.
It's a really, really good card. And it's kind of a rare thing to see the untap, right? Like you don't see a lot.
Yeah, it was only in Lorwyn or whatever that block was, where they had the untap symbol.
So your budget version of this that you could use would be the Sword of the Peruns. So it's 4 mana for
Mizzet Perun?
Yes. No.
Fuck.
So it's 4 mana for an artifact equipment, and it has an equip cost of 3.
Okay.
As long as the equipped creature is tapped, tapped creatures you control get +2/+0. Very bizarre. As long as the equipped creature is untapped creatures you control get +0/+2. I mean, obviously that's with attacking, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can pay 3 and you may tap or untap equipped creature.
So same thing.
Once
you're up to 4, but now you have to pay that equip cost.
Yeah, it has an equip cost of 3 here. So it's got 7 mana to get this one set up, whereas the Umbral Mantle, you just have to pay 3 to get it out and go. So it's a lot easier to just play the Umbral Mantle when you're ready to combo.
Sure.
But these, of course, require us to pick some place to put that mana.
Of course.
Right? So I just selected a handful of X spells that I kind of put in here. Of course, you could do something where you could pair a couple X spells that are in here with the Psychosis Crawler. So that would include something like the Blue Sun Zenith. You can just target yourself to draw X cards.
And just burn everyone off.
And then just burn everybody with that. The nice thing is if you set up infinite mana here using this combo, you can cast the Psychosis Crawler.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because he's colorless. He fits inside of it.
Exactly.
Cool.
So you can cast that when you need to for that. And as I mentioned, there's a couple others in here. Like
and your commander gets arbitrarily large, right? Don't they?
Yeah, the commander would get large.
Yeah, it gets +2.
In particular with the Umbral Mantle. So you would have a huge commander. You could command or damage somebody out with that. I put Debt to the Deathless in this particular deck. Has a very steep color requirement in that it's X and 2 black and 2 white.
Yeah.
But you can then drain everybody's life totals out.
But along those same lines, it's Exsanguinate.
Exactly.
Torment, Hailfire.
Exactly.
Okay.
The other one that I put into my deck was Villainous Wealth. It's just going to take out one player with that particular thing. I mean, you could take out one player, or you could just dump their deck onto your battlefield as much as you are able to with the colored mana requirements you have.
And then as soon as they get to their turn, they're gone.
Yeah. I mean, my thought would be maybe you want to leave them a card or two. I don't know.
Well, yeah, because you'd lose the cards you stole.
Because you'd lose the cards you cast with Villainous
Yeah.
Wealth. It's kind of it's a cheeky pick, that one. There's a lot of options.
This whole deck's built around Villainous Wealth. Like, it's a well-known card.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the idea. I mean, I have just some basic win cons. I'd really have to draw a lot in order to put together the combos.
Yeah.
Because the combo's pretty steep. Or the Approach of the Second Sun, you might get into a counter war in order to pull that off, but that's okay. But there are win cons in the deck. There are things that prevent people from just taking you out.
That's just insane to think to make a deck.
But there's a lot of people that do that, and because think about it, like there's people that build chaos decks, right? And it's you could put yourself in that same place where nobody's going anywhere because you just keep stopping everything from happening. You keep giving everybody tokens. It's possible to build a deck.
I've fallen into that. Like the closest thing I think I have to this is the Queen Marquisa, and I ended up just reading about it and being like, I'm just gonna do hatred.
Yeah.
Just to shove someone out of the game who either isn't cooperating or when I'm down to that situation. And then the Master Cruelties.
Yes.
Like you just got to have ways to end it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you just do. Sometimes a lot of them aren't very elegant. Like I think Exsanguinate's kind of, it's in every black ID deck. Like people just
Exsanguinate,
it's just a
Torment
classic,
of Hellfire,
right.
like toss them in. Like those would work for sure. Some non-budget upgrades to what I've mentioned here that would work very nicely. Staff of Domination, of course.
It's a great outlet for your infinite mana.
Exactly. It will do whatever we need it to do. Also, the Walking Ballista is another really great outlet.
Really great outlet for infinite mana.
I would also suggest, like I said, I didn't put Propaganda in my list because I think it's about $10 right now. But if you're not playing budget, toss that in there. Eye for an Eye is another kind of comeuppance type spell, if I recall.
Is that non-budget? Eye for an Eye?
I think it's like $12, isn't it?
Ew, why? It's not
or
even.
Or maybe
that.
It was just one particular print that I saw was listed at that.
Yeah, because I don't even run Eye for an Eye, and yeah, so Eye for an Eye is a Arabian Nights card, but the 5th edition is 42 cents.
Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah, you must have been looking at the Arabian Nights.
I must have been looking at the Arabian Nights one.
Which is pretty, $12 is a fucking bargain for an Arabian Nights card.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
But yeah, it's white. The next time a source of your choice would deal damage this turn, instead that source deals that much damage to you and its controller. So it doesn't even nerf
So it doesn't
damage.
prevent it, it just
shares it.
Punishes them as well.
It just shares it. They take it and you take it.
Some other things to kind of maybe pitch the favor a little bit in your direction might be to add Crufix, Burgeoning, Sylvan Library, and then another one to maybe make it wonky would be Teferi's Puzzle Box. I think that one's maybe only $6 or $7. Like it's not too expensive, but
sure.
I just kind of, out of the budget list, I guess is what I kind of did.
Yeah.
I want to close this though with talking about red.
Sure. Let's do that. Let me hear about red, man.
Yeah, I'm maybe going to solicit your thoughts too. Like, one of the things that with this the way I've built this particular deck, if you wanted to get red into its typing, a Locust God package would light you up.
Yeah, you would draw a lot of cards on him and get a lot of bugs.
So that would be, again, it would be kind of like I said, like it would be kind of like a price of knowledge type play, like where you establish all your stuff and then play something like the Locust God, to where you've sold the snake oil and now all of a sudden you're getting the benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can combo into something with that. You know, and then of course, like there's just so many different X spells in red, like where you can use the combo I described.
Calm Storm, cut to ribbons. Like there's a couple.
Yeah, so there's I think red adds win cons. Red adds ways to kind of bring the life totals down a little bit. I don't know. Do you have some thoughts on like what red might add to something like this?
Sunforger.
Yeah, you could put a Sunforger package in here. So you
yeah,
can respond.
The Sunforger gets really crazy when you're outside of Boros. You get to use cards like. I mean, you can go grab. It's funny because I had like a whole list of like Sunforger package cards.
I remember that
on my phone that I just deleted not even an hour ago. So I'm like, when am I ever going to use this? I've already done everything I wanted to do with this thing. But cards like Swerve. Like Swerve lets you redirect spells. Like you can just change the target of a spell at any given time.
Yeah.
And yeah, stuff like that. Like you get access to red-blue cards because it can tutor those.
Okay.
And then when you add red, you have Deflecting Palm. And if you keep black, you've got Delirium and Backlash. Like these aren't. I mean, you saw what those did in our first gameplay video.
Exactly.
So yeah, there's. I don't think red. I think red is kind of if you're gonna look at red, you want to think about ending the game with it, not necessarily.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of group hug.
It's not going to contribute to the group hug, and so. But
there's Mana Geyser. You would benefit from everybody having all these lands in play that you've been.
That's true.
That you've been allowing them to play. Well, I don't know. Like Rites of Flourishing speeds the game up. That's just all it's going to do. Like people are going to get into late game sooner. They're allowed to play an extra land every turn.
Yeah,
and draw extra cards. Like it just shoves the game.
You're exactly right.
Along much faster. Treacherous Terrain is another thing. You can punish them for playing a lot of lands for Treacherous Terrain. It deals damage to all your opponents equal to the amount of lands they control. There's a lot. There's a lot of red stuff that just does damage, like Price of Progress, Acidic Soil.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot.
And so I guess with that, my thought is, because I think there needs to, you need to segment a deck when you're building a group hug deck. Like, because I had to be
who would you bring in as a partner then?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What I'm thinking is if you're bringing red into the equation, you might be abandoning the whole win con around Kydel, and you're doing a 5-color deck.
Or just go to Kyanos and Tyrio.
Yeah, and that's another one that you could do.
That's probably the better one, the better idea. I like your deck though. I don't think red is necessary in the way you've built it.
No. Like
there's wheel effects and things like that Kydel likes to see, but the only partner you can bring in, you can't really lose white.
No, white is a big deal here.
This is why I want more partner commanders, is because the Boros ones, even the Boros partners are horrifically Boros.
Oh, yeah.
Like Bruce Tarl and Akiri Lineslinger, like just
useless.
You're really just picking them up for their color identity, which you could say that about a lot of them, but man,
well, and the other thing I noticed about this is, I think we've entered into an area of exploration where people need more 4-color options, which implies we need more partners that can allow us to create those.
Yeah. At this point, they could get away with doing monocolored ones. That way it stays at 3 colors.
Now, that would make it 3 colors, but even the 3-color options, you do have some limitations. But that's what I noticed is I was like, if I want to do a no red deck, there's only so many options to make that happen. And I want to choose something that has some kind of impact. I will just say the other thing about red is I don't know, avoid Scrambleverse and Thieves Auction.
Well, these are just chaos cards.
Yeah. Because I think once you start doing it, like, well, now we'll just give everybody everything. And
well, it's not even that. You're just fucking with the game. Like those cards are, nobody wants to even resolve them. You'll cast them once and go, wow, why did I waste money and paper?
No, you got to go think about your life choices with those cards.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah, you and I aren't fans of chaos. We've said as much.
Yeah. It's cute. Once.
Yeah. One time.
All right. Well, that's group hug, dude.
Yeah, I like how you laid it out. I think it's hard to, I mean, yeah, you got to pivot the advantage you're giving them back and turn it into a punishment.
Exactly.
Turn it into a disadvantage. I would think drawing cards is a good. Especially with black, it's easy to turn that on its head.
Right.
It's really easy to like flip that around and be like, oh, Underworld Dreams and.
Oh yeah, exactly.
The one card that you were saying with the guy with his eyes gouged out.
Yeah, the price of knowledge.
Like that's an easy.
If there's a single card that Niv Mizzet hates, it is Price of Knowledge.
Well, yeah, or Underworld Dreams, or just Nakusa, or like anything that does that. But yeah, like anything that people are already doing, those cards are an easy pick because a lot of what EDH decks are programmed to do is find ways to dig it into their library.
Yeah, exactly.
Like not really denying them that ability, but just making it so it costs them something.
Yeah.
But not in the lines of pressure. Like I think I get why you're relating it to pressure now. Like I get why you brought that up. Because the two are pretty close.
Because I think you need to pressure in some way at some point. But if you're doing group hug, like you need to be ready to play some politics. I think it requires a little bit of skill to make it. AP has done it well. I think
he's good at it. He starts rolling these elements out when life titles start to dip. He's like, okay, it's time for me to reveal, my master plan here with all of this stuff that I was doing.
Right.
Like you're in the background most of the time. But me, I kind of see just see the pieces that I'm not okay with, like Temple Bell. Like I know he's gonna do mind over matter with that, so I'll just get rid of that now.
Right.
Because I know he doesn't really have. There's only so many removal spells he can handle before it's like, okay, yeah, even in the long game, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So now he's just waiting on dropping like a big mana finish.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like Comet Storm or whatever.
So dude, Cherry Christmas. Go put some presents under the trees. Build a group hug deck, dude.
Yeah, let me get on that right now. Let me get on that after this. Yeah, well, thanks for that, man. It was courageous of you to do that.
Well, I hope you've dusted off your Neil Diamond Christmas album, reached out to the person closest to you and given them a big holiday hug. Thanks for tolerating me as I dive into the subject of group hug. Hopefully it's helpful and hopefully it gives some of you some ideas for things that you can do to build a group hug deck that you enjoy and your play group enjoys as well. Big thanks to the artist Home for letting us use their music. The song you're listening to this episode is Flashlight from the Falling Into Place album. Also, be sure to check us out on YouTube. We've started posting some gameplay videos. We're still finding our stride with style and pacing and all that jazz, but let us know what you think and check out some of the decks that we've actually talked about on the podcast getting played IRL. Well, until next time, I hope you start gearing up for a cherry Christmas, everyone.